Bruce McLaren died trying to go faster, faster than he'd ever been before, faster than the other team. He had that racer's mindset that meant he wasn't happy unless he was in the lead. It's a mindset that carried on with his company, McLaren, and it's why the 650S exists. The 12C, or to use its original name, the McLaren MP4 12C, was McLaren's first go at a sensible road car. The F1, of course, was its first proper go for the road, but it was a little mad. Anyway, the 12C was lauded as being a brilliant car, even by me, but many said it felt a little soulless, a touch flawed and a bit wanting. McLaren was on its way to making something golden, but it needed a bit more. And that's what it reckons the 650S is. Here's the vital statistics. The 650S's 3.8 litre twin-turbo V8 pushes out 641 brake horsepower, or 650 PS if you live in Europe. It also manages 500 pound-foot of torque. And that's a bit of a way off of the 12C. That managed 616 brake horsepower and 413 pound-foot. Speaking of the 12C, it wasn't a slow car. 0 to 62 took 3.1 seconds and its top speed was 207 miles an hour. In comparison, the 650S will hit 62 in 3 seconds dead, and its top speed is also 207 miles an hour. But this isn't really all about top speed, because the boys from Woking have been fiddling far more than you'll ever know. Yes, there's the look of it, which borrows from the P1 hypercar a fair bit, but it also uses dampers similar to those found on said P1, so there's that. The suspension has been fiddled with, as has the steering, to make the 650S a little sharper, a little harder and more soulful than the car that came before. McLaren's taken a Silicon Valley approach with the 650S. There were things about the 12C that needed fixing or upgrading, or just found a little bit wanting, that could be adjusted to make a better car, but they couldn't be fixed with mere software. No, they needed proper hardware engineering. And so that's exactly what McLaren's done. It's how the car world works, but I feel with McLaren there's a bit more to it. There's the impression that the next big thing, the next fix, is waiting in the wings. There won't be such a thing as the perfect car. And I like that, the brazen ability to look back and go, no, it can be better. And that's something old Bruce lived by. Now at McLaren's UK HQ there's this thing called the Boulevard, and along it are important race-winning McLarens from years gone by. And at the top of it there's a little red Austin 7. That car was bought for Bruce by his motorcycle champ dad so his son could go hill climbing. Unsurprisingly, Bruce was very, very talented. And so to get a competitive edge up the hill, he started fiddling with his Austin 7, doing things like flipping the suspension for an extra couple of tenths of a second. As he got better, his motorsport career, well, took off. It's well documented. He was an exacting man. He had very high standards, and one day he was out testing one of his new cars and he was quite irked to see that the fuel filler cap hadn't been replaced by his pit crew. It was flapping about in the wind. Now, initially he was quite annoyed by this, but then did some man maths and figured, well, if I drive really quickly, the wind will go over the car and push it down. So he went quicker, but the wind didn't push the cap down. All it did was make it waggle more. It was just flapping all over the place. And this is when Bruce learned all about aerodynamics. He figured there was another airflow underneath the flap, and that was what was causing all the, flappiness. When he got back to the pits, he leapt out of the car, took some shears to it, and made his own aerodynamic adjustments, and then instantly started putting in better lap times. I like to think there was a similar eureka moment when the 650S became a thing. Someone went, but if we do this, and lo, McLaren decided it was better. Now, to put the car in context, the 12C was an incredible bit of kit. It wasn't showy or flashy though. It didn't scream money as, say, a Ferrari does. It was the start of a long journey for McLaren. The P1 was a massive leap, so the 650S should be leagues above. The 12C was a stunning car. It was brilliant. I adored it. It was everything I'd hoped it would be. Yes, people didn't think it was as good as a Ferrari or what have you, and maybe it was lacking in a few areas. Now, I've heard that the 650S is what it could have been if it was left simmering for a little longer. That's what's been said about it before. And I'm inclined to agree, because what McLaren's done is it's given it more feeling. It is a once more with feeling kind of car. The steering's been adjusted. The dampers are those fairly similar, inspired by the P1 project. The front end, yes, it does ape the look of the P1. Yes, that's now a family face, but McLaren being McLaren, it's not there just to be pretty. It's functional. The carbon fibre bits and all the grooves and what have you, that's there to add downforce to the car. This now has way more front end grip than the 12C did. Not that the 12C needed more grip, because it handled unbelievably well. But this now means, well, it'll go round corners quicker than you or I could possibly imagine. You may have noticed down the side of the car there's two carbon fibre sills. Those aren't there just to put a 650S badge on. No, those help guide air down the side of the car to make it extra slippery. The spoiler's been fiddled with as well. Now, it's already awesome because, well, it's a spoiler that goes up and down. You can use it as an air brake, so when you're really tonking it and then slam on the anchors, it will raise up completely. It'll go pretty much vertical from where I've been sitting. Only downside to that is when that does happen, it completely covers the rear window, so you can't actually see out the back. So if someone is quite close to you and you brake quite hard, by the time the spoiler goes down, they might be a bit closer than you'd imagined. It's a thinking car, this. It thinks for you, it works for you, to flatter you, to make sure that you can get the best out of it at any given moment. Twin that with McLaren's amazing ride. One of the best things about the 12C was its eerily serene ride. And you could easily, I reckon, just bimble around in one of these day to day. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. Apparently it's been tuned to be a little bit closer to track, because in the 12C it didn't offer quite as much supercar silliness as some owners would have liked. I want to talk about the way this car delivers its power. Press the active button, press manual, and then the car goes into your control. So I now have control of the gears. The gearbox is super sharp, super quick. Put it in third, find a straight bit. Jesus Christ! Good Lord, this thing is fast. McLaren doesn't do feeling. It doesn't do big, shiny, flashy emotion. It doesn't do it the Italian way. The Ferrari thing, everything is very beautiful, it feels very lovely, it's all done because, we're Ferrari, we have all this great emotion and great passion and all that. And I'm not saying McLaren doesn't have passion, doesn't have emotion, far from it. But it derives its passion, its emotion, not from artistic flair and artisanal wonderfulness. It derives it from being the best engineered car out there, from going quicker than the other guy. This is a function car. It's not a form over function. The function dictates the form, and it happens to be that the form is bloody pretty. There is nothing on this car that doesn't need to be here, and the interior reflects that. This car would appeal to a very certain type of person, and I would bet any money that it's probably engineers. Engineers absolutely love these things. One is always going to be incrementally faster than the other. One is always going to have fans that the other doesn't have. There's always going to be staunch supporters. What I'm pleased is that there's that little race going on, that Ferrari is pushing McLaren, that McLaren is pushing Ferrari, that each one ups the game just a little further each time, so they can say, but we're faster than the other guy, because what that means is that the end product will please everybody. I'm not sure what anyone's expecting other than brilliance from a company like McLaren, but still, the 650S isn't the only way you can get your McLaren road car kicks. If you're one of the lucky few who has the keys to a P1, then good for you. Or there's the 675 Longtail, which has 666 brake horsepower and a slightly longer spoiler than the 650S. Or the 911 Fighting Sports Series might be the one for you. And all of them, without doubt, are brilliant too. McLaren, just like Bruce, simply wants to be faster, be better than the other guy. Unlike Bruce, though, it's unlikely to die trying. Bruce McLaren himself had this to say on that very topic. To do something well is so worthwhile that to die trying to do it better cannot be foolhardy. It would be a waste of life to do nothing with one's ability, for I feel that life is measured in achievement, not in years alone. And you can hardly say that Bruce McLaren or McLaren itself has hardly achieved anything, can you?